learning a lot about the past simple tense. Well, we use this tense to talk about activities you did in the past. Well, these activities started in the past and finished in the past. These are completed activities. And now you know how to structure affirmative sentences, negative sentences, and of course, questions. So come on, let's recapitulate these things. What about affirmative sentences? Well, the first thing you know is the subject. You remember, it could be a noun or a pronoun, like I, my uncle, my dad, Jim, Celia, you and me, they, whatever you want. Who made this activity? Well, this is the subject. And then you need to use the activity you did. This is the verb, and don't forget to use it in the past tense. For example, I went, you went, we went, or what about Jim played, she played, he played, or why not recorded, we recorded, I recorded, right? You have already learned about regular and irregular verbs, so always use the correct form. And at the end, well, you need a complement. This complement could be a time phrase, like yesterday, last week, last weekend, or a year in 1992. It's up to you. So come on, let's see some examples. I visited my grandma yesterday morning, or I studied English last weekend. Or what about I had a shower yesterday night, or my dad traveled to London. Yeah, cool. So these are, positive sentences in a past simple tense. Come on, now it's your turn. Make your own examples. Wow. And what about negative sentences? Well, for negative sentences, first of all, we use the subject again. So a noun or a pronoun, you know that. And then the auxiliary. The auxiliary for the negative sentences in the past simple tense is did not. Did not, or the contraction didn't. Did not or didn't. For example, I didn't, she didn't, we didn't, they didn't, he or she didn't, right? So we have the subject, negative auxiliary, and then we need a verb. What was the action? Well, always use this action or this verb in base form, like I didn't go, we didn't play, she didn't record, or what about, Jim didn't study. And of course, at the end, use a complement, like Jim didn't study English yesterday morning. Oh my God. All right, so these are negative sentences. Come on, try to practice. And then we talk about questions. Well, of course, sometimes we're having conversations. We say something like, hey, I went to the beach last week. Really? And then you want to ask something like, where did you go? Who did you go with? Did you have fun? Okay, these are questions. So for questions, you can use a what word or yes, no question, the auxiliary first. So a what word, then the auxiliary did, and after that a verb. For example, what did you, and then the verb do. So what did you do? We have the what word, the auxiliary did, the subject, and the verb, in this case the verb do. Please don't forget to use the verb in base form. Again, question word, auxiliary did, the subject, the subject, it could be a noun or a pronoun, and then a verb. Always use the verb in base form. And finally, a complement, like, what did you do yesterday morning? Or, did you have fun? Or what about, hey, who did you go with? What did you do? Did you study? Did you have a good time? Okay, perfect. Hey, these are questions with subjects. Could you see we have you, he, she, it, subject. So these are called in English object questions. But sometimes we don't know who is the subject. We're looking for the subject. You remember that class? Of course, let's see it. Who is the subject? When we don't know who is the subject, we ask for the subject. In English, we call this kind of question subject questions. For example, what happened? Oh, there was an accident. Oh, forks in? Or what about who ate my cheese? Who ate my cheese? All right, so we're looking for a subject. We don't know who's the person or what was, the action in this case, what happened. Well, in order to do this kind of questions, of course, we can use a one word like what or who, and then a verb. This verb is always in past simple tense. Who played? Who wrote? What happened? Who went? Yes? And finally, we use an object or a complement like, hey, what happened yesterday morning? Or who broke that glass? All right, so these are called in English subject questions. We're looking for the subject in the answer, right? And in these kind of questions, we never, ever use the auxiliary did. Don't forget it. So tell me, did you have a good time during this class? I bet you did. Okay, time to my notes.